Good afternoon and welcome to Nightly News. I'm Julia Anderson.
And I'm Melissa Kelly. Today is February 21st, Friday, 2014. The UCF community lost a beloved professor this week. Dr. Bill Safranek was an assistant microbiology professor who died Monday in a car crash. He started teaching at UCF in 1995, and last April he received an award for excellence in undergraduate education. Although he is no longer with us, his legacy will live on through his students.
He spent like 30 minutes going over this subject with me, not during his office hours, just during his free time. And he spent a really long time making sure that I understood the material for another professor's class.
There's people that either they want to teach because they have to, or they teach the course because they have a passion for it. And he definitely had a passion for his course, and it honestly makes the students learn with more ease.
He taught me that if you're not doing what you love, then there's no point in doing it. I mean, I could tell that he just loved everything that he did, and he taught for a reason, and he made me feel like if I'm passionate about this, then I need to go for it, and that applies to anything in life, and that's why I just loved being around him. He was so positive.
A memorial service will be held for Dr. Safranek this Sunday at 3 p.m. in the Fairwinds Alumni Center.
Last night was SGA President Melissa Westbrook's removal hearing, and Nightly News reporter Chris Groh was there. Chris, what was the Senate's decision last night?
Well, Julia, the month-long saga is over. Last night, SGA Senate voted against removing student body president Melissa Westbrook from her office. Nightly News sat down with Westbrook as soon as the final vote was counted. There were cheers for Westbrook from a packed crowd before a final decision was even made. Last night, the Senate heard arguments and evidence from Westbrook and accuser Clifford Rice in the final removal hearing. A removal from office would need 2/3 vote on any of the 3 charges. The final count wasn't even close. Out of a possible 114 votes, only 2 were in favor of removing Westbrook. The 112 votes cleared Westbrook's name. Then came a shower of cheers from Westbrook, the Senate, and the crowd. Support that Westbrook says she's had in her corner since day one.
The entire cabinet literally, before I was impeached and the affidavit was filed, and you need help, we got you, even after the impeachment, people were in my office stacked up, so I can't say that I haven't had that support the whole time. So it's just reaffirming that, the people that are already here for me are still here for me to the end.
So now Westbrook will remain in her office until the end of her term. After the celebration, Melissa Westbrook and Clifford Rice took some time to talk to each other. Westbrook says that Rice and herself will continue to work together as friends and co-workers, despite the fact that Rice was the one who filed the impeachment. Julia?
Now, Chris, speaking of Clifford Rice, what did he think about the Senate's decision?
Well, Rice actually agrees with the Senate's decision. He felt that the evidence was just a bit too overwhelming. However, he still feels that Westbrook shouldn't have used student dollars to buy the rental car that Westbrook used at the Fiesta Bowl. Julia?
Thank you, Chris.
Most of us have a Facebook, and now some users can identify themselves with new gender options. Facebook recently created about 50 different customizable gender choices and added preferred pronoun choices as well. You can customize your gender under the basic information section of your profile. Now, there's been a lot of action on the gay front rights lately. Statutes in Virginia, Utah, and Oklahoma have been challenged in federal court, while other states have already legalized gay marriage. Nightly News reporter Andrew Ray takes a look at the current status of gay rights in Florida.
Floridians voted to ban same-sex marriage in 2008. There is legislation in the Florida House of Representatives that may help move the state toward marriage equality. House Bill 439 is in the works, which would create a statewide registry for domestic partnerships. The director of The Center, a group dedicated to education on LGBT issues, feels this bill would improve rights for people in civil unions.
A married couple in the United States has 1,140 rights through federal and state laws. In Florida, we're talking basically about 5 right now. But these are 5 very important ones that we're trying to get protection for everyone until marriage equality is in Florida.
In addition, Florida House Representative Joe Saunders from District 49 is sponsoring a bill that will help protect the LGBT community from employment and service discrimination.
However, one local attorney and activist feels measures like these will infringe upon the rights of religious citizens.
The expansion of non-discrimination laws to include gender identity expression are one of the most dangerous laws today because they're being used as weapons to punish people who have religious convictions, who have businesses, who have receptionists that on one day they're a man and the next day they're a woman, and they can't reassign them because they felt that would be inappropriate.
The gay marriage ban in Florida has been challenged, but a change in policy is still far away. In Orlando, Andrew Ray, UCF Nightly News.
Visit the Nightly News website for more information and direct links to the bills.
Still ahead on Nightly News, Nick Marciniak will tell us what kind of weather to expect this week.
Well, it's a bit wet right now. There is some rain coming down, and we've currently got a high of 83 and a low of 63. I'll have the complete 5-day forecast coming up later in the show.
Thanks, Nick.
And later, political unrest in Venezuela leaves the country in turmoil. Nightly News will be right back.
Welcome back, Knights. Reporter Blaise DaCosta now joins us for our Nightly News First. Let's take a look at what's going on around the country and the world. Blaise.
Thanks, Alyssa. As Black History Month comes to a close, Ole Miss and the FBI are working together to solve a crime of intolerance. A statue of the school's first black student was found with a noose around its neck and an old Georgia state flag on Sunday morning. The university told us, these individuals chose our university's most visible symbol of unity and educational accessibility to express their disagreement with our values. Their ideas have no place here, and our response will be an even greater commitment to promoting the values that are engraved on the statue. The school's Alumni Association is offering a $25,000 reward to find the people who did this. Heading over to Eastern Europe, Ukrainians are continuing their nearly 3-month-long protests. Protesters are voicing their disapproval of their president, Viktor Yanukovych. Yanukovych turned down a bailout from the European Union to accept a $15 billion offer from Russia back in November. After gunfire erupted in the Ukrainian capital on Thursday, killing 100 protesters and injuring 500, Yanukovych is now meeting protesters' demands. This includes an earlier presidential election, creating limits on the president's powers, and bringing opposition members into the government. Moving more than 5,000 miles across the globe to Venezuela, people are also protesting their government. Venezuelan citizens are unsatisfied with the Maduro government's attempts to fight crime, inflation, and not having enough basic products. This week, opposition leader Leopoldo Lopez was accused and arrested for arson and conspiracy. Right now, there's no sign of a resolution in Venezuela. And that's what's happening around the world. Back to you, Alyssa.
Thanks, Blaze. Earlier this week, the Venezuelan community in Central Florida gathered to support anti-government protesters in Venezuela. People were wearing all white, holding flags and signs, gathered at Lake Eola on Tuesday night. Even though the event was organized by Venezuelans in Central Florida, people of all backgrounds attended to show their support. Hector Mata, co-owner of the Venezuelan restaurant Arepas and More, believes the U.S. should get involved.
We need to try to find a dialogue or a meeting with the Venezuelan ambassador and with the United States president to try to get an understanding, because if not, blood is going to continue to spread in our nation.
Mattis says he's recently seen an increase in Venezuelans at his restaurant and at rallies supporting the Venezuelan fight for freedom. Tomorrow there will be another Venezuelan support rally held in Blue Jacket Park.
Due to an increase in violent crimes, the UCF Police Department wants students to take a more active role in their personal safety. Nightly News reporter Stephanie Wooster tells us how.
Numbers show crime is increasing around UCF, and the police department is doing their part to keep you safe. New crime reports show the number of forcible sex acts on campus more than doubled in the past 2 years. Thefts and burglaries in the surrounding areas have also gone up.
UCF Police Department officials want students to be safe in all situations. That's why they're suggesting students take classes such as this one, so they will be prepared.
The department holds a women's self-defense class monthly where they can learn to be aware of their surroundings as well as physical tactics. Self-defense instructors warn students not to get too comfortable.
We, of course, think that we're very safe, and sometimes we get lulled into a false sense of security. We don't want them to do that.
The department has seen an increase in the amount of students taking the class. One UCF student who took the class told me why she feels more prepared to defend herself.
A lot of things in this class I didn't know, tools and techniques I can use, so it's a lot of things that I learned that I can actually use if anything actually does happen.
The department hopes to continue increased enrollment throughout the year. Reporting in Orlando, Stephanie Wooster, UCF Nightly News.
If you visit our website, you can find out how to register for the class and see more safety tips from the UCF Police Department. Now, the weather has been all over the place. When we come back, Nick Marciniak tells us what to expect for the next few days.
A little later in the show, students participated in a stand-up comedy competition. We'll show you behind the scenes when we come back. This week, CAB held their first open mic competition last night, called Last Night Standing. Nightly News reporter Nicole Ibn Arriaga was behind the scenes for the event. Now, why would students want to get involved in a competition like this, Nicole?
Well, Alyssa, this was actually a huge opportunity for students because whoever ends up winning Last Night Standing will have the chance to be the opening act for a comedian that CAB is bringing in April. I spoke with some of the contestants beforehand, and they told me that they were both nervous and excited, trying not to think about going on stage. Before the aspiring comedians took the stage, some looked over the material while others drank and ate to calm their nerves. Some of the contestants told me they came up with their material the night before or took it from personal experiences. The UCF Office of Student Involvement, CAB Comedy, judged the competition, focusing on audience reaction, material, and performance. The top 5 scorers will move on to compete again in March to determine the last night standing. The The winner will then open up for a touring comedian in April. Now, this was such a fun and hilarious event. And let me tell you guys, I have to give them so much credit because I'm sure it's not easy to go up on stage and try to make people laugh like that.
No, definitely not. I don't think I could do something like that.
Neither could I. Thank you, Nicole. Now, Nick Marciniak joins us for another look at the weather.
And thank you, Julia. We are a bit wet right here now. The rain has been coming down, but we'll get to that in just a second. First, we're going to take a look at our state temperatures. A bit cold up in the Panhandle, Tallahassee at 63 degrees, Jacksonville a little bit warmer at 76. As we go south, the temperatures predictably get warmer. Tampa at 80, Miami at 81, but it's actually Orlando right here, the warmest spot in the state at 83. Now we take a look at the national picture, and you can see Florida again, one of the hot spots in the country, but there's a heat wave coming up the East Coast. Temperatures well into the 70 degrees, all the way up into Virginia, and now coming across the country, the Midwest is in the 60s and 50s, even the Great Lakes above freezing. So not a lot to complain for in terms of temperature, but precipitation on the other hand, this big line of blue right there, that is a storm front that's been moving across the country. It hit the Midwest yesterday. Now it's on the East Coast, and this has the potential to cause severe thunderstorms from here all the way up through Delaware. This is what's causing all the rain that you see coming down lately, and although it should be gone for most of the East Coast by the end of the day, here in Florida, we're going to be feeling the effects for a couple more days, as you see when we head to our 5-day forecast. Temperature is going to be pretty consistent, low 80s across the board, dipping down to 79 on Wednesday, lows in the mid to low 60s across, and unfortunately the chance of precipitation is also going to be consistent, 40% on Saturday, 30 for the rest of the forecast. That means it's going to rain, it's going to be wet. If you've got any plans for the weekend, you may want to consider rescheduling or at least bringing an umbrella, maybe moving somewhere indoors. Now, I don't know about you guys. I was planning on maybe attending the Osceola Fair. Might not. Do you guys have anything going on that you think you might have to reschedule for?
Well, I was going to go to the Food and Wine Festival this weekend, but I don't know how that's going to be looking now.
Maybe you just make sure to bring an umbrella with you when you get there.
Definitely.
Thanks, Nick. Still ahead on Nightly News, it's been a roller coaster week for UCF sports.
A big win and then a big loss for the UCF men's basketball team. Sports is up next.
Welcome back, Knight fans. This is Andrew Ray with a recap of this week in sports. UCF snapped a 9-game losing streak last Saturday by defeating in-state rival South Florida. The Knights were led by guard Isaiah Sykes, who finished a game-high 27 points, including the game-winning layup with less than 2 seconds left in regulation. Freshman Justin McBride was awarded Conference Rookie of the Week for his 13 points in only 14 minutes. The Knights then welcomed number 7 Cincinnati to the CFE Arena Wednesday, hoping to pull off the upset. The Bearcats came out firing behind the three-point line, and of course you'll see that they made up to 16 points in the first half off of turnovers. UCF tried to cut the deficit. Isaiah Sykes had 13 points as well, but unfortunately the Knights turned the ball over a little bit too much. You'll see here a nice drive to the rim by Isaiah Sykes, but unfortunately the deficit was still 18 points after that basket. Here's a turnover, another one for 16 of them on the night. One of the 9 steals that Cincinnati had, a behind-the-back pass and a throwdown with authority. The Bearcats rolled to a 77-49 victory, and the game was over before it started. First up, for UCF baseball, they began their season this past weekend with a 3-game sweep of Siena by a combined score of 28-11. Excellent starting pitching helped the Knights win the first 2 games as Eric Skoglund pitched 6 innings on Friday with a 1.5 ERA. A 3 RBI game from Tommy Williams helped the Knights win a high-scoring Sunday contest 9-6. On Tuesday, the Knights traveled to Gainesville to take on the Gators. Zach Rogers pitched 5 innings and allowed only 1 run, but Joe Marotta allowed 4 earned runs against only 6 batters in the 7th inning. The Knights would lose the game 5-1. The Knights will host Ohio State, Oklahoma, and the Citadel respectively this Friday through Sunday in the UCF baseball tournament. The softball team roared off to a record-setting 7-win start this season, beating the 5-0 mark set by the 2004 squad. Shelby Tournier and Mackenzie Audis are playing a large part of the success, earning all 7 wins and combining for 58 strikeouts. Tournier had 15 strikeouts alone in the 1-0 victory over FAMU on Sunday. Unfortunately, the team lost its first game on Wednesday in Tallahassee. Audis allowed 6 runs on only 5 hits, and the Seminoles were victorious 6-1. The team will be in Tuscaloosa this weekend for a tournament against Alabama, Virginia Tech, and McNeese State. That's it for sports this week. Back to you, Julia.
Thanks, Andrew. The popular barbecue restaurant, Four Rivers, is coming to University Boulevard. It signed a lease for the location last year and will locate next to Collegiate Inn. They plan to accept job applications when they open in April. You can also expect to see a new full-service Starbucks soon in the Health and Public Affairs building. It's on schedule to open this semester in front of Memory Mall. All right, well, that's all the time we have for now. Thanks for joining us.
If you have a story, idea, or comment about something you've seen here on Nightly News, email us at nightlynews@ucf.edu.
And be sure to check us out online at nightlynews.ucf.edu, where you can also find out additional information on all the stories you've seen here today, as well as see our daily webcasts.
Join us here again next week, and until then, have a great weekend.